Hey, good evening, everybody. For this edition of Born Political, I'm your host, Joe Delacruz. I'm especially excited tonight because since the beginning of the show, I said this wasn't a political show. It still isn't. What we're trying to do is make sure the folks that are serving us around our community that are either in a position of political power, or if there's somebody we had the police chief, we had a lot of different folks from a lot of different walks of life. Tonight is no different, except for this person will be running for the 18th Senatorial District. I'm very excited to have him here tonight. We're going to get right into it. My guest tonight, Farouk Rajab, thank you for being on the show. Welcome to Born Political. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to be on your show. You know, we talked about it maybe a month ago.
We did.
And then last night I knew I was coming here and I'm like all excited. I couldn't sleep well.
You couldn't sleep well.
I'm really into it. So
the show has hit the big time. When people are losing sleep over the show, it's great. And there's really nothing to lose sleep over because, I met you about 3 months ago when you were talking about possibly deciding to run or not. I know what a huge decision it is. I had to make it myself, and I know you labored over it because you are very busy. And we're going to get to that part, but I just want to start off with where you're from. A lot of people, I've lived in London and Groton my whole life, and people know me because I never left.
Yeah.
I know you're not from this area. Where are you from?
Well, born and raised in Amman, Jordan.
Amman, Jordan. Yep.
Yeah. And I had the privilege of being able to immigrate to the United States of America. And my port of entry is Boston, Massachusetts. So, I lived in Massachusetts for a couple of years. And in 2001, I was offered a job in Mystic, Connecticut. Yeah. And I took it. And, in that process of moving into the state, my wife said, let's look for the best school system. And that's where we want to live. And, she looked hard and long, and she came back and she said, Stonington, Connecticut.
Wow.
And
because you were going to be in the area.
Right. So when we wanted to move, she wanted to find a school system that we had three young boys, and that's the decision was made to live in Stonington, Connecticut because of that school system there. So we moved to Stonington in 2001, and we've been there ever since.
Now, see, I talk about my drastic move that I made. I grew up in New London, and my wife was from Groton, and she decided that she was going to live in New London, so I got moved over to Groton, which you would think would have been the other side of the planet. I was torn. My friends were like, "Why are you leaving Groton? Why are you going to Groton?" But you left with a whole family.
Yeah.
You left your home country.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you're very proud of and love, and we all have our country spirit, to move and to come to this country. And I think I always respect anyone that did it. I know my grandfather and grandmother did it, and on both sides, and to know someone that probably made the same path or very similar that my grandparents did, I have a lot of respect for it. And I know it's probably not easy.
It is not an easy decision. It wasn't an easy decision, right? But it was a family decision, right? So we sat, we talked, and children getting, we had two kids, and we thought, what a better place. We had that opportunity to live in the States, right? Because my mom is a citizen, and so I had that advantage. So I was like, why not raise them in the United States? And what a better country, right? It's the American, American dream that we all
it is.
pursue, and it was just a great move. We're blessed to live in this country.
Yeah.
People. I personally living abroad and comparing the two. Nothing wrong with Jordan, but I'm privileged to live in the United States, and I'm privileged to be an American.
I think it's easy for us not to see that. My whole life has just been. I feel like it's easy.
Yeah.
I think like my grandparents made the hard move of, I guess, great on one side. My grandfather from the Philippines in World War II joined the United States Navy. And the story of the Philippines, there's a lot of admiration for America and what they did for the country. So my grandmother and grandfather are very proud. And the same feelings that you probably have, and a lot of folks that immigrate here are just proud to be here. And it's great because it's that infusion I think that we need sometimes, because the second and third generation of a country that, where people just assume that everyone has it the way we do or it's easy, and you had to see that you saw two sides of it, and you lived in other countries too, or did you come right from Jordan to U.S. or were you?
No. I lived my entire life in Jordan. Well, my
Oh, you did, yeah.
entire adult life, and I came to the U.S. and short period in Massachusetts, most of it in Connecticut. We lived for about a year and a half in Minnesota. Minnesota. It was really cold, but if you add all the years up, it's almost 50-50 here and in Jordan.
So when you left Jordan, so your work took you through the hospitality. Is that what you did in Jordan also? Or
I did. I did work in hotels in Jordan, and I was actually one of the youngest general managers to open a hotel in Amman, the capital. And then when I came to the States, I started from ground zero again, because we all do, and it's not easy, no matter what you did abroad, to come here and come and go apply at a company and say, hey, I was a GM, would you take me? It doesn't work that way. You had to prove yourself. You had to work from the bottom up, and I did, put my big boy pants on and worked my hardest, and I 2.5 years, 3 years, that opportunity came up in Mystic, and I took it and I jumped on it, and slowly but surely, it's funny you talk about Groton and London. I actually, we had two houses we wanted to buy. One was in Groton and one was in Stonington, and it's like it was really a tough choice, but we end up in Stonington, and I worked in Groton for 5 years. I was actually the general manager of the Mystic Marriott.
Wow.
From 2011 to 2015.
And I got to tell you, that was, being a Groton person, just watching that even be built, and knowing that we were going to have that kind of that level of a quality hotel, because that's really the premier hotel in this whole area, that from my point of view, as far as a large hotel and being close to the highway, but still being in that little bit of a nook where, most people wouldn't know it was there unless they pulled in the front of it, and it's beautiful. So it's been a huge part of our community. That's where we have our galas. We had in the past, because that to me is, unless you're going up to the casino, that is probably the premier hall to me that you can do.
It is. It has a special place in my heart. It'll never go away. And it's it's funny. We go to these conferences for Marriott. And when I was the general manager there, everybody was like, "Oh my God, yeah, like that hotel is known. Like the Mystic Marriott is a very well-known hotel across the United States for the Marriott Hotel." So
you did 5 years in Groton, and then where? Where'd you head after that?
I did do a year and a half in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. I worked at
so you went from Groton to Minnesota.
Yep.
And realized that there are places colder than Groton.
I realized there are places colder than Groton and have no ocean. So.
No ocean on top.
No
of
ocean
that.
on top of that, and it was and then we quickly moved back. We never sold our house. We wanted to keep the house.
Yep.
Because the house was where we raised our children, right, and had a sentimental value, and sometimes you buy the house that you can afford.
Yep.
And when we were younger, new to the country, and the house was very affordable, and we bought it, and we were like, okay, now why not keep it? So we kept it. We wanted to always to have a home base, and so when we moved to Minnesota for that 1 year, we were like, okay, well, we're gonna move back, and there was an opportunity came knocking, and in Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm currently working in Providence at the Providence Marriott.
So you're in Providence now, and I know some inside stuff on you because we had a conversation for a while. You went to Providence, and you're running a hotel, or what's your job at the hotel now?
I'm the general manager there.
General manager of the hotel, and you've somehow managed to do like 5 other things on top of that. Because I knew you ahead of time because I knew you were chair of the board of ed in Stonington, and you were working that position, and I didn't know that you were involved in some political, not political, but Chamber of Commerce, which is somewhat political in a way, but in a couple other things. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit. I know Chamber is.
I can list them really. I was on the board of the Mystic Chamber of Commerce, I am on the board of the Stonington Community Center, which is
a great community center. That
I love the Como,
Yeah.
and I would love to stay there forever. And I know that they wouldn't allow you to be a board member forever, but it's that's really the Como was one of the first places I was involved in serving our community when the kids were younger. I used to volunteer there a lot, and I love the Como, and I love to continue my mission there. I serve on the it's called the American Cancer Society New England Council. I lost 3 sisters to cancer.
Wow.
So it's really it means a lot to me to help on that. But in my other life also, I served before as an advisory board at the Ella Grasso Tech High School for their hospitality program. I helped there for years, and you were talking about Rhode Island Providence. I'm the immediate past chair for the Rhode Island Hospitality Association. I'm the vice chair for the Providence Warwick Convention Visitor Bureau. I'm privileged to be appointed by now Secretary, then Governor Gina Raimondo as a Rhode Island Commodore.
Wow.
Which is Rhode Island's highest honor for business leader.
I thought I was busy. Hold on.
I can keep going, George. The list is long.
Because there's all these things we were talking about. You're gonna be like 5 shows. I mean, you have so much going on, and and when I met you, I think, and I want to go step back a little bit because what you said earlier, you lost 3 sisters. How many siblings do you have? Brothers and sisters? Are you a big family or?
It's a big family.
Good. Big families are good.
Big families. My father was married, had 5 children. Then my mom was married and had 4 children. They both got divorced and got married and had me.
Okay.
And then they got divorced and my father got remarried and had another sister. So you can do the math.
Almost about 10.
11.
Yeah.
But it's all of us. And my sisters. It was hard because we lost 3 of them in 3 years, 1 every year.
Were they the same type of cancer, or was it? It was
lymphoma cancer.
Lymphoma cancer. And wow. I mean, that's tough. I mean,
it's even hard to talk about, really.
I'm sure it is, but when we talk about somebody, especially someone that's going to throw their hat into the ring, and a lot of times, what got you involved, what made you want to run, and when I met you, that's what I loved about you. You kept talking about your family and making sure that the next generation or your grandkids would one day have the same opportunities that your kids have. That's why I ran, and I could feel what you were saying. And then when you have an experience like you're talking about and losing 3 siblings to the same disease, if you win, there's opportunity where you could impact that. Where you can change. Maybe not just the way funding goes, but the way that we actually look at cancer and study it, and I think that's such a impactful thing to know that and you've obviously seen it because you joined the Board of Education, and there was probably some things that you thought you could do better, or you thought you could add to the conversation, and when you get involved, you see that you can change something, and to see it change is powerful.
It is, and we talked. You and I talked about it before. It's really that sense of, you serve on Board of Education. It's not for the pay, right? Because it pays 0.
Well, I hate to tell you, it's not for the pay as a senator either.
I know that, but the reality is that you serve because you can give back to your community. In all honesty, like the reward when you feel when my kids all out of the public school system, but I continue to serve on the Board of Education because I feel I can help. Like I can if I can give 10%, I'm gonna give it. And there's no, the reward. It's not the long nights when you're writing the budget. We had since January. If I kept count, it's about 14 or 16 meetings, and on the Board of Ed, in 3 months, and that's a lot. It's a lot. We have all these other committees and boards that we serve on the real job that I go to, Monday through
And it's
Friday.
the real job that eventually we'll get there and talk about that. I mean, I made a speech on the House floor recently because I'm not going to run again this year. I think when I first met you and spoke, I was still full throttle. I had planned on running. And then we had that big discussion with my wife and I, and the business has gotten so busy where I work that it just wasn't going to be feasible because I've been able to do both. And this one, I work in a job where you can't really leave. And I think when I first met you, I said, "Are you sure you have the time to do it?" And because that's so important. But what's important too, because I'm heartbroken to leave, I really am. And I think someone with a heart like you have is tailor-made for this job. It's dangerous because you have a lot of empathy and you I think you feel other people's pain, and that can be all-encompassing when you're serving. It can be something that happens, when everyone's asking you for help. You gotta have to learn how to delegate, but you've done that at your work, right? The delegation part.
The delegation part, I'm really not my challenge. Like you said, the challenge is to run for office is a family decision. It's not just you, right? At least to me it is. My wife and I had long, hard conversations about this decision, and I had the same conversations with my children.
Yep.
You want me to do this? You okay with me doing this?
How are they? Is it iffy or is it?
No, they're actually very supportive.
Oh, great.
One of them is a graduate from University of Minnesota in political science, and my youngest is actually a freshman at Syracuse University in political science. So they're kind of like very supportive. My oldest works in hospitality.
So you got a little help though, because these guys,
they're very they're good critics.
Yeah.
Right? They're good. And I love feedback, and I love to listen. I love to listen to them. I think we don't do enough listening, in our daily life, and we don't do enough listening to our children, because as parents we always think we know better, right?
Yep.
And they really do know, and they're really smarter than what we give them credit for. So I love to listen to them. I take their advice. And I move forward with it, and often my children will criticize something I would do or say, and I'm I speak from my heart.
Yep.
and sometimes people want to analyze every word you say, and I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm a guy I speak from my heart, and I'll say what I believe in.
Now, how old are you? You have two children.
Three boys.
Oh, three boys.
29.
Yep.
25 and 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. That is awesome. So, to me, when you talk about the way you talk and listen to your children, that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to, as a state representative, and I think most people when they get in politics, you're always going to hear people, "Oh, those politicians, they don't care about anything." I can tell you, I don't care which side of the aisle it is or who I've met. Everyone that I did meet, they cared about something. They cared enough to put their name on a ballot and run and get up there. And although I don't agree with all their decisions all the time, and I'm on the opposite side, I do believe people had passion for something. Mm-hmm. And I believe that what you could bring to me is just so varying. For your experience of immigrating to this country first is, most of the people up there in the legislature haven't done that. Mm-hmm. There are a few folks that did emigrate, but then to have these three boys who are, of varying ages from that go all the way down to 18, and you just still be able to listen to them and look for answers, not just talk to them. And I think that's a big part of our job. And you'll see a lot of folks will say, well, the person doesn't have political experience. You'll hear that. That's what people will say. And my true belief is when you sit down at a table, the person I want, if you're flying on a plane and that person gets the seat next to the door where they say, "Are you sure you can handle it? Will you be able to open the door?" And you have some people that might get up and say, "You know what, I don't think I can do that," and they'll go get a seat that's still cramped up. Mm-hmm. And you'll got other people that say, I know I can't open that door, but I like the extra leg room.
Yeah.
And some other people will say, well, I want to be next to the door because I want to be the first one out. I think you're the person that says, I want to sit next to the door and I'll open it and I'm going to make sure all these people get out before I get out. That's the impression I have of you. And that's the person I want, because even if there's gonna be issues that you have no idea about, because there's energy issues, there's all these issues that you probably never considered, but in the end, it's gonna be the person that gets all this information brought to them and where their heart is and what's their North Star. And your North Star to me is your family.
It is. It's the family, and it starts in the smaller nuclear, right? It starts at home.
Yeah.
But Stonington and Groton proved to be my bigger family.
Yep.
They really did. And the whole entire 18th district, as I drove around and sat with people and talked to people in Plainfield and in Preston, I learned a lot. And I learned what make them tick and what they want in life, and I'm going there to fight for them. And I'm not like you said, I'm not going there for the pay, or I'm going there to fight for these people and bring it home. And I shared something with you, and I want to share it again with you, which is I have a kid that lives in Minnesota, and I want him to move back here, right? And I really want to I believe in Connecticut. I think Connecticut is the greatest state in the union. I think we live in the greatest country on earth, and I want my son to move back here and be able to afford to live here, to find a good paying job that can, sustain him growing a family as well. And I want to have the best school system, the best infrastructure in the world, because we really can do it.
We can.
We really can.
Absolutely.
But we need to stop fighting and representing one side. We represent everybody. We really need to go up there and represent the people of this area in totality.
And that's exactly what I said. I've got to speak to a few people after we first met, and your names come up a lot out of my mouth because it's exactly what I feel. Like when you speak, it's genuine. What you're going to try to accomplish will be genuine. I know it will be. And I tell everyone, again, the Democrat and Republican, the R and the D, and we talked about this off air, because there's people that don't like me at all. They can't stand me. And people say, how can they not stand you, Joe? You're always singing karaoke and having fun and your life at a party. But a lot of it will boil down to because I'm a Democrat. And I have some really good Democrat friends that will not look at a person because, they're Republican, I don't talk to them anymore. And it's exactly the opposite of what needs to happen. If we're going to fix our roads, if we're going to get together, and the fact that, there's not a lot of cheerleading that happens for Connecticut, like what you just said, greatest state in the nation.
It really is.
We need more cheerleaders. We need, and I'm not saying blindly cheerleading for a state that's not doing good, but making sure that you're saying, listen, I love this place, and this is how I'm going to fix it, or this is how I'm going to make it better.
I'm going to make it better, right? Because there are things that we need to fix. We're foolish not to recognize that. But we can't sit here and just complain about what is wrong and do nothing about it. The reason I was never in politics or involved in politics until I saw this pull of right and left. 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And I called a friend of mine and I said, what is happening? Like, tell me, who's involved in politics? And I said, tell me what is happening. Like, why I see a right and left and this and that? And he said to me, well, stop complaining and do something about it. And I was like, oh, well, you made sense what he said to me. So I stopped complaining and I want to do something about it. And I want to bring us back together. We are the United States of America, and we need to be united, and we need to work hard together to continue to make Connecticut the greatest state in the union, and to continue to keep this country the greatest country on earth.
And it has to be everyone.
It has to be everyone.
And we've been, to me, politics is the last 7 or 8 years, like you said, has been more like a football game. So at the end of the day, if you can spike the football and beat a team 68-0, everyone's happy. But was there good legislation out of that? and were the bills good for everybody? And I don't think that's the way to get to the bottom of legislation. And that's why I've been mostly impressed with you, because I think it's your personality that will be able to bring people together in a room. I've been able to do it to a certain extent. Democrats, we started a little caucus. It was called the Cigar Caucus. And there's not a lot of bipartisan caucuses up there. There are, but this is one where we were doing the same thing that I'm doing here on the show. I didn't care about what bills that guy was talking about, and he didn't care what I was talking about. We were just talking about life in general, where we worked, how are your kids doing? And I think if you start at that, because our core values are all the same. Usually, you want your kid to go to a good school. You want, you chose a town by the school. You chose a country by the schools that you could get provided to them. And people constantly do that. And once that decision is made, it's like everything else after that's a fight. Yeah. And it doesn't need to be, because there's a million things that we should be agreeing on.
There are a million things that we should be agreeing on, and we can continue to move forward together. Like, that's really my mission. And I don't know, I'm one guy, but I want to fix it. Well, and I'm not, I'm sorry, but I'm not. I just read George Washington, and I recognize that there was a right and left even back then.
Yes.
Right, when we started the country, when we went on this journey of the great United States. But it really is. We can make it less. We can unite a little bit more, and we can move forward together. And we need to work shoulder to shoulder.
And I think we're going to get there. There's a lot of people that are upset because, how divided it seems. And I said, we've never been more divided. And I argue that there was a time in our country where one brother went out the front door and another one went out the back, and they met on a battlefield and were actually shooting at each other.
Correct.
So we're not there. What we have is repairable. And a lot of it just has to be common sense and agreeing on legislation and not. And I think social media had a lot to do with it. Because there's a lot of people that have voices now that always aren't truth-filled, and they have a platform. And other people, if you share that over and over again, and before I think we had access to one or two sources of news, and now we can get news 24/7 on our phone. We all have computers in our pockets, and we basically open it up and you can see breaking news, and it doesn't even have to be correct.
Yeah.
It could be just any news. It doesn't have to be correct news. It just is breaking news. Yeah. And I think you have a tough fight. We know it. You're gonna be running against someone that's been there, incumbency. Like someone ran against me. I was in their mailbox all the time. But I truly believe if you do get to meet people and talk to people, and they get to see who you are. To me, you're the guy I want sitting next to that door on the plane. Because I know you're going to care. I know you're going to care. You may not have had to do it before, but I know you're going to care. You'll probably read the book and make sure you know how to do it if you have to. One of those guys. We're almost out of time here. We only have 1 minute.
Oh, wow.
Farouk,
it went by so fast.
Yeah, I told you it was going to happen fast. I love talking with you. If you have anything quick to say, I know.
For everybody who's out there listening, I want to represent your values in Hartford. And I want to continue to make Connecticut the great state it is.
Well, Farouk, I gotta thank you for coming on. I mean, and this won't be the last time. We're running up to. If it's not till November. Yeah. This show's every Thursday. We'll bounce back and forth. If you want to come back on the show later on and during the campaign and talk about how the campaign's going, and we can do that. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you on the show, and we'll definitely have you on again.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you.